Are you a runner? Or more importantly, do you want to become one? Do you want to know where to begin or how to get better? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Run Amazing Utah, where runners of Utah share their inspirational stories of how they conquered their battles, reached their goals, and overcame the seemingly impossible. If they can do it, so can you.
What if you could? Reach that big dream that you've always dreamt about. Maybe you think it's impossible. Maybe others have told you it's impossible. Maybe it's your body that's holding you back. Maybe you feel like you've aged or it will never be well enough to do what you want it to do. Well, guess what? That's not true. At Body Smart, we empower you and teach you how to make changes toward the kind of life you want to live and give you the tools you need to reach that goal you've always wanted to reach. From running your first mile to qualifying for Boston, we have everything you need to reach that dream. Call us at 801-479-4471 or contact us through our website, bodysmartutah.com. We can help you maximize your performance and stay on the road. Let us help you reach that dream.
All right, good morning and welcome to the Run Amazing Utah podcast. Today we've got a real treat. We've got Jill Wilkins with us, amazing ultra runner. She's awesome, just finished a Met test, so we had a lot of fun. As always, I'm Mark and this is Melody. And
As always,
yeah. I guess not as always. Sometimes we like to switch it up, but yeah, we appreciate you joining us. And so let's dive in. So kind of the first question we usually ask people is what's your story? Like what got you into running in the first place?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've always wanted to be a runner. And also so I've always wanted to be a runner. My uncle talked me into doing 5K one day. And I was like so intimidated. I'm like, I'm not a runner. This is not I've never maybe even ran maybe a mile in my life, and I just thought 5Ks were professional runners. They do those type things. Mm-hmm. So anyway, talked me into doing it. It was the Raspberry Days 5K, near Bear Lake. Anyway, and it was a really difficult one. They had this huge climb and everything. So we start, and I'm like, the main thing is I thought, you know what? I'm young, I'm fit. My 50-year-old uncle is not going to beat me today. That's my goal, right?
I'm going to light him out.
Oh, how wrong was I? First mile, he flies past me, and I'm like, there's really nothing more humbling than seeing your elderly family member take off, and there isn't one thing that you can do about it. Oh. So yeah, that's how it started. I really didn't like that it was so hard for me. I hated it. So I wanted to get better. So I signed up for more 5Ks, and they were awful. They never ended. I would run, and I'm going, people said they'd be over before I knew it. I'm still going, and I paid money for this.
What am I doing wrong? What's going on?
Yeah. So that's how it started, and it just snowballed. I ended up, I'm going to do a half marathon, and then it ended up turning into let's do a marathon, and I ended up doing with that same uncle, and it was amazing. We did Chicago, and anybody who's done Chicago Marathon, I can't recommend it more. It was just amazing. So, and then, like I said, it just snowballed from there.
I'm just wondering, where did that switch happen? Where did it go from, this is horrible and I hate this and it lasts forever, into I love this and it's amazing?
People ask that all the time because not really, because they're like, how long is running going to suck? Because this sucks.
It always does in the beginning.
It does.
Yeah, that's always the story.
I'd say probably a good 2 years. When I was training for the marathon, that's I think when the switch got flipped, where all of a sudden I'm like, I missed a run. I'm the most crabby person on the planet. I need to get out and run. It makes me happy. I enjoy it. So yeah, probably a good 2 years of running consistently, of not giving up. I'd have this setback and whatever, but I'm kind of driven. So it was always, okay, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to keep going. I have this goal. I'm going to make it. So
that's awesome. That's super awesome. So we're just going to get right down to the nitty gritty. So when you messaged me, you were like, Hey, I have a pretty cool story. You mentioned that you were sick for a little bit. You mentioned you suffered from eating disorder, and you said that running kind of saved you. So could you tell us that story?
Yes.
I've been so excited to hear this.
The can of worms has been opened. Yes. Okay. So, like, getting back to, I always wanted to be a runner. Growing up, I was very sick. Like, I missed 4 years of school.
Wow.
I had to be in home and hospital. Like, my insides were shutting down. I had to have daily nutritional IVs.
Oh my goodness.
I was sick, and that was from like 5th grade to 11th grade. Like, it was not fun, and I was always the sick one. Like, I'd always go like family function or wherever, and the kids would be out playing. No, Jill, you go sit, you need to take it easy. You need to,
Yeah.
And even in high school, when I started feeling better, my parents loved me and I loved them, but it's like I wanted to do stuff because I'm a driven person, but it was, no, Jill, we would need to take care of your body. You need to rest. You need to whatever. So that was so huge for me. Once I found running and I was able to make those goals and I was able to achieve those goals, and, and it's not easy. As runners know, you set a goal to run a marathon. That's hard. That's dedication.
Mm-hmm.
That's time. That's not something you can just do at the drop of a hat. I mean, you could, but, there might be like injuries and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And then what really got the ball rolling, and it's interesting that you said, how long did it take me to get to where I actually loved it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try not to get emotional. I suffered from an eating disorder. I had anorexia for, 6-7 years, to the point where like my female function, it was like cycles weren't functioning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had infertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
When I found running, it was something that I could put that brain towards. I could focus on how strong my body felt, those amazing accomplishments. Like, anybody who started running, like, you run 3 miles, then all of a sudden you run 5, and you just feel like you can do anything. And you hit 10 miles, something that you thought was so unachievable, and you did it. So it was such an amazing experience for me to be able to focus on what my body could do instead of just those numbers on a scale. It was just an incredible journey. And like, I don't want to cry.
Feel free.
But it's like being so sick growing up. To being able to run a 100-mile marathon or ultra marathon last year was amazing. And then, the struggles with an eating disorder and whatnot. To be able to, switch that focus and focus on healthy choices and what's right for me and what's right for my body and be a good example for my daughters was just huge. So, like, last year, running the bear was pretty amazing. Like, so many obstacles, so many things that I've gone through my entire life, and running fixed them. Like with my eating disorder, I never went to a therapist. I just did it on my own. I got books and I read, and running was it. Like, I love running.
That is so powerful. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love that. That's amazing to have been where you were, to not only like running 5Ks and marathons, to running a 100-mile race.
That was pretty awesome.
That is quite
it's terrible. Like, it's so embarrassing. Like, please don't get me started talking about running because I won't shut up. But it's like been such an amazing thing in my life, and it's just amazing. Like, being able to set goals and working towards them, so you always have something to look forward to. Always, you don't have to do races. You could just say, I'm run X miles a week or a month or whatever. And, the relationships that you can build through running. I mean, just the people that are in this sport are just some of the most genuine, kind, caring, uplifting people. And, it's never a competition. Like, I run with people that are so much stronger and faster than me, but yet we love to get together and go, and they slow their pace so we can all go together, and just they're always cheering you on, and they're always like, like with training for the 100, I just asked my friends, that was it. I didn't get a coach or whatever. I just kind of winged it. Thankfully it worked out for my benefit, but like, everybody was so willing to give of their time, to give of their knowledge and experience. And it's been incredible. Running has just been such a positive thing in my life.
Isn't that so true? The running community is amazing. Honestly, that's what got me into running, was the running community. I didn't like competition, anything. Once I got into running, I realized like it's not a competition. Everybody's here to cheer each other on, and I think that's awesome.
You know, and like you make a new PR and you're cheered on. Like nobody, it gets snarky
even
or whatever.
If your PR is like the other person's worst time ever. Like it still is awesome.
Exactly. Like we celebrate everybody's victories because, you know, everybody's at different levels. And, you know, and that's what's the thing with running is it's hard. It's not easy to get out every single day. And some days, you know, I mean, I'm a little nutty and I'm a little over-motivated sometimes. But there are days that I struggle to get out, you know. But, like, I'll pull up social media and I'll say, oh, my gosh, so-and-so just got out and ran. Okay, I can do this too, you know. Yeah. And it's just been so, like, the support and, like, the friendships and everything has just been great.
Oh, I love it. I also want to ask you about running with your kids. So first of all, I see you and your kids on Instagram, and I messaged you the other day. I was like, you give me hope that I'll still be able to run after I have kids, because that's something that I've always worried about, and I think that's something a lot of female runners worry about, what's going to happen after I have kids. And also you mentioned when you're telling your story that after you did your 100, something that was important to you is that you're an example to your girls. So talk about just what it's like training with your kids and how you want to be an example for them.
Awesome. Well, first off, I love my kids. Even before I was a runner, I was constantly, you know, outdoors and going. Like I took, you know, I'm like I said, I'm a little over-motivated sometimes, and I tend to have these crazy goals. But, you know, like I would take my oldest, you know, at the time and make her go hiking. You know, she hated it, but we still go. And like to this day, she knows if mom says we're going hiking, we're going, you know. And then fast forward to when I was able to have my baby, I was able to sell my business and be a stay-at-home mom. Well, because of that, I don't have the opportunities for babysitting. So essentially I've trained for all of my ultras and the 100-mile race with my toddler in tow. So
awesome.
I know, like
super mom, straight up super mom.
But you know, it's been pretty awesome to share so many miles with her. So first and foremost, we do a lot of stroller runs, and you know, we're really lucky here in Utah. We have awesome parkway systems. Like I have my Jordan River Parkway, and then up here, what's it called? You have another parkway system.
The Ogden River.
It's something like that. But anyway, they all connect. And what I love about it is at most of the main intersections, there's parks. So my biggest thing, like with my toddler, she loves to go. Even to this day, it will be cold outside. It's winter. And if I'm getting my running clothes on, she said, Mom, we gotta go. We're gonna go.
Oh.
Because she has fun. So yes, it's a little bit more tricky. Like most people can just get dressed and put on their shoes and head out the door. When I go, okay, do we have snacks? Do we have a drink? Do we have some sort of an activity that she can do when she's bored? So sometimes it's like a little drawing tablet. I'll bring like a Kindle where she can watch movies. That's kind of like last resort. But what we'll do is we'll run out to a certain destination, like how many miles that I want to do. And then we stop at a park and we let her play. You get a little bit of downtime. You can take in some fuel, and then it's time to go and we head back. Another thing that I do is I just take her in the trails with me. So, like, it's been pretty awesome. It's not, like I said, it's not easy. She gets a little heavy, and the older she gets, the heavier she gets. But, you know, even though it's a little more difficult, it's been so amazing to share so many miles. Like, for example, so with the bear, I tried to hit 4 consecutive weeks of hitting 60 miles a week with a lot of vert. My kid went with me the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
So every time I was in the mountains, she was with me. And it was nice. Like she's kind of gotten legged up where she could kind of help me like with some of the climbs. I remember, but getting back to taking your child, it's all about making it a positive experience for them. So yeah, sometimes it might take a little bit longer, but it's worth it because A, you're building that love of the outdoors for your kid. And then B, you're showing your kids you can do hard things. Like they get the experience of doing something difficult because you're taking them out. And you know what? It's okay if you whine. It's okay if you complain. You just don't give up. That's just my mantra with my kids. And they know it. Like my oldest, she'll complain. Sometimes my toddler will complain. But we're not going to turn around early. We're going to finish the trial. And, you know, it's just, it's an awesome foundation that you can give to them. And then also you can just share your experiences and going through difficult things with your kids, and also showing that you don't have to have a gym membership to be healthy. Not that I'm knocking a gym, but here in Utah, we're so lucky. We have the most world-class trails in our backyards, you know?
Yeah.
Why not take advantage of them?
Yeah.
And so, like, getting back with my oldest, it was pretty awesome. I finished the 100, and I think it was kind of a switch that flicked in her brain, like, wow, this was really huge. You know, mom's just not just going out and doing crazy stuff. This is like pretty huge. And it was really neat. She came up to me and she said, Mom, I want to do a half marathon with you. Like, and for a 15-year-old girl, that's pretty huge, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of signed up like ASAP. So there was
You're like,
no
I'm jumping on this
backpedaling,
right now.
I'm taking advantage of this opportunity. So, but it's just nice. And, you know, like my kids don't have to be runners. They don't have to do the things that I do. I just want them to know you can do anything you want. It's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. It's not going to be easy, but you can do those things. So,
anyway. I love that. And you feel like it's just good quality time too with them. I feel like,
oh, absolutely. Well, you know, sometimes when you go through hard things with someone else, it does build that bond a little greater. Like, it was funny. In fact, when I was not doing the test I was telling you about, so I've done quite a few peak bags with my kids. And the last one I wanted to get was Mount Raymond. And every single time I tried to get my kids up there, something would go wrong. So finally, it was in November, and it was before this big storm was going to come. So, like, this was, like, the last day. Like, pretty much, if we're going to go get it done, it's going to be today. Yeah. So we head out, you know, and, like, my toddler is just getting so heavy. Carrying her up Butler Fork is just ridiculous, you know. And then my oldest was doing great that day, thankfully. I could only handle, like, so much complaining. But we get to the saddle, and we start getting out the snacks because, you know, you got to take breaks. That's another thing with, like, taking your kids out. Just listen to them. You know, there's a fine line between complaining and then, okay, they really do need a break type thing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, you know, we make it fun. We bring fun snacks. Snacks the mom doesn't have a home.
Ooh. Sweetening the pot there.
Exactly.
I like that.
Like the Oreo cookies, the chocolate, all the good stuff. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and this huge windstorm came up. Like, it was so bad I couldn't even see straight. Wow. And it was so hard because here I got both my girls up. The peak is like a half a mile away. Like, it's...
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But I had to call it, you know.
You gotta be
so
safe.
Yeah, we headed back, but we'll be up there this year. We'll get it. That's what I really want to get.
Yeah. Like, we will make sure everything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool, right? Like, it's a goal that you're trying to reach, right? You could have that experience, enjoy that time with your family, and not have just even being right. You could see that in the distance, not have that totally defeat you and just ruin everything, right? It's still like, wow, this was...
Exactly.
And I think that's so cool, right? You've built running and fitness into a lifestyle. And I think that's what's cool is I think with anything that we enjoy, sometimes, right, we can kind of go all in and ignore everything else to our detriment. But it sounds like you've just been able to really build the life that you want and that lifestyle you want with your family at the center. And that is so cool. Yeah, yeah.
I really appreciate that. Like, honest to goodness, like, yeah, I could say to my, you know, I could get a babysitter, but I really enjoy taking my kids, and I enjoy giving them those experiences because who else is going to give it to them? You know, I mean, they could, when they're older, decide to do, you know, like what I did and get into stuff, but why not give it to them when they're young? Like, and then, you know, like it was funny you brought that up. We had so much fun. That windstorm was so crazy. My girls and I, we just laughed, and we made fun of it, you know, like we're getting blown all over the place. Like, we're opening up our jackets and leaning against it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't make it to the peak, but it's all about, like, enjoying the experience and having a good time. And that's what I was getting at. Make it fun, you know. And it's great to involve your kids. And I'll tell you what, like, not to toot my horn, but carrying my youngest, you know, it really does help, like, on race day. Like, your climbing legs are just great. So,
You're like,
it works for both ways. You know, it's like, geez, I can climb this and I have 50 pounds on my back.
No kidding.
So, yeah.
I think that's so awesome. I just, like, think back to my childhood, and my most fond memories are being in the mountains with Dad, going camping with the family.
Exactly.
And I feel like being in the mountains is the best way to bond with people, because there's no electronics, there's no hustle and bustle of the city, and there's no people. It's just you and your family in the mountains, and you're basically forced to talk with each other. You're forced to have a good time because that's all you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a healing place. Like, it just, there's just something about being on the trail, being away from everything, and being surrounded by so much beauty. I think that's what drew me to trail running is, I mean, we are so lucky. And, you know, by being able to run it, you're able to cover so much ground in such a small amount of time, and you get to just experience so much. So awesome.
What a great way to experience. To experience things is through running. I know you're talking about Chicago, your first marathon, and how it was such an experience. And as we were talking about that before the podcast, I was just thinking, like, it's so true. What an awesome way to just experience life and to just experience things and to see things, to be able to cover so much ground. And there's something I mentioned is it's like sometimes when you're running, it's like this out of body experience. Like, it's almost spiritual, and you're just like surrounded by this beauty, and you're on this runner's high,
and you're just on this euphoric little, you know, it's a pain, it suffers, but you're able to take yourself out of that and push yourself and just, you know, entrench yourself in that beauty. It's like one of my favorite runs ever was the Grand Canyon, going from, you know, one end to the other and then back again. What an intimate way to experience such, like, a magical place. And you get to see it in the middle of the night with the stars and the Milky Way, and then the sunrise.
That must have been beautiful.
And then you get to see the entire Grand Canyon in all of its glory. And when you're coming back, then the sun starts setting and you see it in a whole new light in a different direction. It's so amazing. Sorry, I'm like, I love it. Like, I did it once and I'm like, oh, I'll never do it again. But then I went and did it again, and now I'm like, gosh, I want to do this every year. Like, I want that experience. Like, it is just so magical. And if, you know, and that's what running does. That's what running has given me. Like, I've been able to experience these amazing things in these amazing places just because I run, you know.
I love it. Do you know what else I just thought of too? You mentioned that when you do hard things with people, like, it really strengthens your relationship. Maybe this is a little bit hippie, but I feel like when you do a hard thing, like, in nature, I feel like you're doing this hard thing with nature. You're doing this hard thing with the Grand Canyon.
Well, you can't go against
you kind of establish this bond with nature as you go through this hard thing with it, right?
Absolutely. Well, I swear that's why the mountains and the trails have a special place in my heart. It's just because it challenges you so much, and you have to have so much respect for it. But then when you're able to work with it, and you're able to accomplish that goal or that, you know, that mileage, it's just something magical. It's so amazing.
It totally is. It is.
I mean, I mean this up. So, you know, it's really cool in here, right? We get so many different stories and so many different perspectives. I think you alluded to this really in kind of the way that you view giving those experiences to your children and the lessons that you're teaching them. But kind of given your experience, what would be your advice? What would you say to someone who's maybe going through a similar experience to what you went through, and what words of encouragement? And, you know, it's interesting because in asking that, I think we beat ourselves up so much oftentimes, but when we see other people going through the same challenges, we just want to wrap them up and love them to death and say, like, you know, I'm here for you. You can get through it. Like, again, given someone that maybe is going through some of those circumstances, what would you say to them? What would be the life advice that you give to them?
Probably, you know, I know it's so cliche, but really don't give up. It's this, you know, like, we can use the same analogy with running as we do, like, going through, like, health issues or going through, like, an eating disorder, as hard as they are. It's all about essentially putting that one foot in front of the other. Like, okay, when we're running, do you have setbacks? Do we have injuries? Of course we do, you know? Same thing with life. Like, it's like, it's interesting, like my eating disorder, I've gotten over it, but it's like, it's always a battle. It's always there. It's like always in the back of my brain, but what do I choose to do? Do I choose to dwell on that? Or am I going to keep putting that one foot in front of one foot in front of the other and not giving up, and I'm not giving in. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like so many people, and not when life comes down hard, or like as a runner that gets an injury, it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people and go, well, why is it so easy for this person and it's so hard for me? Or why am I given these challenges in life? But you know what? We don't know what everybody's going through, and they might be going through something that's just as difficult, and maybe they're not so open about sharing those things, and they're not giving up, and they're still continuing forward. And I think that's my biggest thing, is just keep going, keep working towards that, keep working towards whatever direction that you need to take your life.
What would you say is on the other side of not giving up? Because what if someone's like, okay, well, why? Like, why should I not give up? Why should I keep pushing?
I think it's just quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, okay, running has done so much for me, but I tend to injure myself a lot because I don't make the best decisions sometimes, And okay, could I sit back and go, oh my gosh, like when I was road running, I had IT band injuries, one after another, and it was so frustrating. And okay, yeah, you can just say running isn't in the books for me. I keep getting injured,
Mm-hmm.
But look what it would have taken away from me. It would have taken away so many of these experiences and so much of this amazing sport and friends and relationships. I took my IT band injuries and I did all the research and I figured out, okay, I just need to strengthen my hips. It's something so simple. So by not giving up, sometimes you don't realize, could be just that one little tiny thing that you need to change in your life. And it'll open up so many more doors and so many more opportunities, instead of just being complacent and going, well, I guess this isn't in the cards for me.
Yeah.
I love that.
One thing, you said, to not let these experiences, what it would have taken away from me. I think the other thing that it made me think is what would it have taken you away from, right? Because of your experiences, you've been able to give an amazing adventure and lessons to your children, and you're here with us now, right? We get to share in your story, and other people get to hear about that, and other people get to experience that. And so I think that's the important thing to remember is not just what it takes away from us individually, but what it might take us away from, and the help and the support and the understanding that we might be able to give to others. Because I think that's been something really cool, that you've been able to not just, work through these issues on your own, but you've been able to help others and develop relationships that lift other people and build them alongside yourself.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I truly love my friends. I truly love my family and all the support that I've gotten, but it's been so neat to be able to connect with so many people that have, that same mindset and just, anyway, great. Sorry.
Well, Jill, you are awesome. And we're so blessed to have you here today, and we're so blessed to hear your story and your insights. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
I just thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to, talk a little bit about my story. Like, it's interesting, getting back to the whole, we don't know what other people are struggling with in their lives. You don't know. And sometimes, like, I kept my eating disorder under wraps. It was so embarrassing for me. And even being sick was so embarrassing because I hated that. I hated that weakness. I hated that part of me. But then I realized, because of those things, it turned me into more of a driven person and more goal-oriented, and it's been amazing to be able to share those experiences with others, because sometimes you never know. Yeah, you might not be struggling with an eating disorder, or you might not have had health issues growing up, but you might have this issue in your life, and realizing that, we all have our struggles, we all have our issues. We're here to help each other and to support each other and to lift everybody up. So it's okay to talk about weaknesses. It's okay to talk about your struggles, because you never know, like, how that might help somebody else in life. So
I love it. That's so true.
Seriously.
if people want to follow you and hear more of your story, where can they find you?
Oh, Instagram, person over here. I will gladly share that plug. So it's just on Instagram. It's at Jill R. Wilkins. So easy
Awesome.
peasy.
Go follow Jill. She's awesome. Her posts are so fun.
Thank
You're so
you.
lively, and I just love following you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jill. That was awesome. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us for more awesome inspirational runners like Jill. And thanks for listening.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Run Amazing Utah. Remember, if they can do it, you can do it too. If you have an inspirational running story or know someone who does, we would love to feature you too. Contact us through our Instagram or Facebook, Run Amazing Utah.